This is the same piece of electrical tape that I've been using for the past several days. It's very useful, that's what I'm saying. I probably should get another one though, because it looks a little flimsy. So I almost killed myself again. Do you guys ever do that? Where like you turn the car on and then you realize, oh fuck, the garage door isn't open. That would suck if I accidentally killed myself. You can't really explain that one, you know? It sucks there's a lot of shit that you can't explain. I'm hoping that like, whenever I get to heaven, God will tell me where my keys went that one night that I got really drunk and lost them. I'm hoping that all the answers will be revealed, but especially that one. Because that was one hell of a mystery, y'all. I got into my house that night. I got into my house because there was weed in my house that I procured and smoked outside on the curb in front of my house. It was my parents' house. So I got into the house with my keys, got the weed, smoked some weed with some people that I brought back to my house in order to do that very thing, and then I lost my keys. I don't know what the fuck happened. Like, I know I blacked out at some point. But shortly after that happened, I have no idea. A lot of the stuff that has happened in my life, well, if I was intoxicated, like, it's all a big mystery. Like the year 2010, I was pretty much like in and out of blackout the entire year. I say that with pride though. I say that with pride now that I'm sober. At the time, it really wasn't anything to be proud about. You ever do stuff that you're like ashamed of and you just constantly make jokes about it to try to like downplay your shame? Well, that was what I was doing that entire year, because I was literally waking up in urine like day after day after day, and I just kept making jokes about it. Like, I had this comforter that I slept on because I didn't have an actual bed. Sorry, just looking around for cops, scoping out for the fun though. Anyway, they're usually around here, this little area. I don't know if you guys saw the video where, speaking of cops, this woman, please stay. There were 3 cops. 3. Like counting is that 3? No, it's 8. You've been fucking it up all along. Shit. But yeah, there were 3 cops like right up here. This area that I'm about to go through. 3 fucking cops. At like 3:30 in the morning. Like, why? What were they doing? Hanging out? I'm sure they just gotten their coffee and their donuts. Oh my god, speaking of the 5-0. Did y'all see that? I wonder if you can catch it through that window right there. But yeah, a cop just passed. You called it, baby. You fucking called it. Yeah, but way too many police around here. Anyway, what was I talking about? Being drunk. Peeing on myself. Peeing in my bed. Or whatever the fuck I was sleeping on. A comforter. I used to hang this comforter off of my windowsill. This was so Animal House-like. Like, this is the kind of shit that you do if you're, like, in a frat house. I don't know if sorority sisters do this, but I'm sure. Oh my god, another fucking cop. Calm down, Jesus. I want to keep telling my story, okay? So, another cop! See him? See him pass? See him pass? I don't think he did. It's okay. Jesus Christ. 3 cops. I was just talking about 3 cops. 3 cops. And then we saw 3 cops. Anyway. Urine-soaked comforter. Draped outside of my window. My landlord started to bitch about it because the neighbors started to ask questions. No, yeah, I'm sure that frat boys do this. But there's probably a lot of shame if you're like a sorority sister that does this. Because unlike what a lot of these twat bots like to proclaim, men and women are not equal to each other. We might be equal in the eyes of God, but I highly doubt that, considering the fact that Satan tempted Eve, not Adam. He tempted Eve because Eve was stupid and susceptible. And women are more easily susceptible to persuasion. I'm not exactly sure why this is. It might be because of our lack of security. Not to just constantly rag on women, because I know that women are naturally on the rag, you know, whether they're on the rag or not, they act like they are. But I love women. The women that I love, I really fucking love them. Like, I think they're just awesome, and they make me laugh. They're interesting. Specifically, the reason why somebody's interesting is because of the experience that they have and how they allow it to shape them, rather than just using it as some sort of leverage later on in life, or using it as some sort of weapon, or using it as some sort of like excuse as to why they continue to feel sorry for themselves. And anybody and everybody can do this about anything. I mean, you would be amazed as to like what people play the victim about. I mean, I'm pretty amazed by it every single day of my life. But I'm also amazed at the things that I felt like I was a victim about earlier in my life, you know? And I have shame in that. But I realized that I had to grow up at some point, and you know, I wouldn't have grown up if I wasn't growing. Like, if I wasn't, you know, emotionally immature at one point, there would be nothing for me to, you know, rise up. I think that you guys know what I'm getting at, but like, you know, like you have to be small at one point to get bigger. You know, you have to be immature for a little while, and then you figure shit out, and you're like, wow, I don't want to live my life like that. Like what I'm talking about right now in regards to my old habits and my old addictions. Like, you know, I realized that waking up in urine wasn't actually cool, you know? That wasn't a badge of honor. That wasn't something that, you know, I should wear on my chest. Oh, hello, little bird. Hello. There's a bird that was flying like right above my car. It was so cool. It was like it was waving to me with its wings. Hello. And this is how silly I am. But anyway, it was saying hi, but only to me, not to anybody else on the road. Just me, okay? You guys are not special. Y'all are chosen. I used to wonder why I was so sad. Like when I was younger, I couldn't figure out why I was so anxious and pulling my hair out and couldn't stop biting my nails. I'm very like fidgety, I'm very anxious all the time. And so I find stuff to do so that I don't feel that way. You know, that's why my work ethic is so strong. It's just because I'm constantly thinking, constantly obsessing about something. So it makes sense why, you know, if I'm at a job, why I, you know, do a fuck ton of shit while I'm there, because I'm just thinking all the time. It's annoying. When I was younger, I couldn't figure out like why I was so depressed, like why I felt so empty all the time. Now, I have mixed feelings about like mental illness. I think that mental illness is real. I think that mental illness is something that should be addressed, but I think that the reason why our society is so screwed up is because they don't know how to address fucking anything. And mental illness is a good example of that. People that are really and truly sick in the head, there's really like no help for that. Like there's really like no pill that's going to fix that. I mean, you can give somebody a pill that like numbs them out and turns them into a zombie, but I don't really think that that's desirable, even if that person's a shithead. I also have mixed feelings about eugenics. Like the more that I think about it, and the more horrible stories that I've read involving child abuse and child molestation and sociopathy and all that shit, I'm like, you know, is it really like smart to bring terrible people into this world all because you think that there's some sort of purpose for them? Like I'm mixed on this issue, because, you know, I am lucky to not be a victim of child molestation, at least not that I can remember. But people that are really, really screwed up. And if you talk to people that are fucked up in the head, it's probably because some shitty happened to them when they were a kid, you know? Because if somebody has a bad childhood, it's hard for those experiences to not be transcended into their adulthood. And especially their sex life. I mean, I think that the reason why I'm so weird about sex is because, like, well, I don't know if something happened to me, but I think that borderlines are naturally weird about sex. It seems like classic borderlines just fuck anything that moves. I did that shit when I was drunk. I behaved exactly like a classic borderline when I got drunk. I scared the fuck out of people when I got drunk. Because I was obviously self-destructive, obviously manipulative, obviously violent. I mean, my mother was terrified of me. My mother. Now that made me very upset. But like naturally, like I hold everything in, you know? I internalize everything. So of course, like if I drank alcohol, like all that shit that I've been internalizing would come up to the surface in a really nasty way. So that's why I don't fuck with it, period. And also I don't want to wake up in urine again. But, you know, I used to just make jokes about that. I'd be like, you know, what's the point of buying a new comforter? I'm just going to douse that in piss too, you know? But I would say these things just, you know, very nonchalantly. And I'm like, you're joking about your life like you are like working towards ending your life. Like that's what you're doing. And I would have dreams about it. You know, when I still had dreams, I would have dreams about like getting sober. You guys know about drinking dreams, smoking dreams. I'm sure those of you in the vortex that have quit anything, you know what that's like. You know that like your subconscious freaks out whenever you quit something because, you know, you're not ready. You don't know how to deal with it. That's why people, like I've made a video about this before, about how people that take Chantix because they're trying to quit smoking, if you're not ready to quit smoking, you end up having really bad dreams, smoking dreams. That's why you want to kill yourself, shit like that, and also because it's an SSRI. But people that have addiction dreams, It's your subconscious reaching out. Isn't that sweet? But yeah, so I noticed that like when I was drinking very heavily, I used to have dreams. No, this is hilarious. I used to have dreams about picking up chips at AA meetings. I used to have dreams about like that walk of shame. Like I would just go back and pick up my white chip, my white surrender. I'm an alcoholic. My life is unmanageable. Now here's the thing, you don't need to do that. The chips are just a symbol. But a lot of people need symbols, you know. And it makes sense why they're poker chips too, because you really are playing with your life. I think that there's a lot of 12-step culture that I can bite with. I think is pretty cool, but you know, it's just a lot of people get involved, and those people are fucking crazy. And when crazy people get involved, they fuck something up that was naturally a good thing. So that's why I don't go, because I don't need to be immersed in a sea of nut jobs that don't know that they're nut jobs, that think that they're so much better because they're spiritual now. They're so spiritual. So spiritual is fucking nauseating. Anyway, I just read a psalm. I believe it was Psalm 90 in the Old Testament. And I'm going to quote this. Establish the work of our hands. Now this was repeated. This sentence was repeated. The sentence was said twice in this particular psalm. Now I think that means that it's important. Establish the work of our hands. So that means that God wants us to work, but He wants us to do His work, not whatever the fuck we think is important. Now, I really believe that I'm doing God's work, especially when I talk about things that not a lot of people talk about. And a lot of people feel sorry for like cancer patients. You know, I've noticed that. But cancer is like well established. Everybody knows about cancer. But what they don't know about is how corrupt our government is. And why don't they talk about all the kids in foster care? Why don't they talk about that? Why don't they talk about like the kids that are being like separated from their parents in the United States of America? They never talk about that. They'll talk about a bunch of migrant kids before they'll talk about any kids in the United States. Not that I regard migrant kids as like less than kids in the United States. I mean, I think we're all God's kids, you know? But if God's kids decide to do something stupid, and at this point I'm not really talking about kids anymore, but I'm talking about, you know, people that are grown-ass adults that make bad decisions. Or grown-ass adults that, you know, get easily exploited by grown-ass adults that are even worse. Like, there are so many morally corrupt things all around the world. And it's easy to say, like, oh, well, I'm a God person. Or I'm a liberal, or I'm progressive. I'm looking to helping you. No, get the fuck away from me. I don't need help. Why do so many people need help? That's one question. Another question is, why do so many people think that everybody else needs help? You ever try leaving somebody alone and letting them figure that out for themselves? You know, maybe they'd be better off if you did that. If you just left people the fuck alone. Let them live their own goddamn life. Now, I don't think that God gives a fuck about blasphemy. He might say so in the Bible, but He's done a lot of things in the Bible, you know, and everything's pick and choose, you know. the Bible, in the Quran, in any kind of philosophy. It's all pick and choose. Take what fits, leave the rest. Just like they say in Alcoholics Anonymous. I just don't understand this tendency that people have to try to control everybody else. Like, I get, like, being narcissistic and thinking that I know everything and that I know what the solution is and shit, but I also know that I don't know that. I just think things and I say things and I have convictions and I can live up to those convictions in my own personal life. I don't expect anybody else to do that. I have been talking to this one dude. He's considerably younger than me. He gives me hope for Gen Z. Gen Z is the shit. Oh my God, they're so smart. Millennials are so fucking retarded. I don't know if this is because of technology. I don't know if this is because of politics. I don't know if this is because of the victim culture, but Jesus Christ, millennials are so fucking retarded. This guy that I work with at the coffee shop, he's like 20, and he was telling me, like, man, all the presidents are just a puppet. That's all they are. You know, there's no point in voting. Oh my God, you fucking get it. He's 20 and he already gets that. He already knows that voting is a complete waste of time. Now, I know you're thinking, why do you say that you support Trump? Okay, look, you guys, I didn't vote in 2016. I might vote in 2020. I might. But the whole reason why I would vote for him is because of what he's done in office. I decided to wait. Show me what you say you're gonna do. So, really, that's why. So I voted for Obama back in 2008 because I really wanted to believe his bullshit. And then when I realized that he was indeed completely full of shit, I didn't vote in 2012. The only person I would even consider voting for was Ron Paul. But Ron Paul didn't get the Republican nomination. They totally fucking sandbagged him. So, that's the thing. Like, the two-party system's morally corrupt. It's very obvious that things aren't working. I think I've alluded to this. Justin Amash just left the Republican Party. That would be cool if he ran as a libertarian. I might vote for him. Shit. But he went into it hoping that he could change the system. And then when he realized that that was futile, that's why he left. Like, a lot of libertarians are more conservative in their values, which is why they, you know, vote Republican. Because Republicans, well, they claim to be more about values, but that doesn't mean that that's true. I think that Republicans lie, but they have less to lie about. So they're not as evil, but they're still pretty evil. If you're all about money, like, there's nothing more evil than that, to me personally. Speaking of money and evil, CPS. A lot of people don't know the horrors of a big government. And they don't know because they're not the recipients of that. I don't understand why people want to live off the government. That's just like the worst fucking idea. Like this guy that I've been talking to, I guess he's a friend now. He was telling me that this friend of his is a schizophrenic. like me. And he just lives off the government and dates underage girls and doesn't do jack shit with his life. Doesn't work, refuses to work. And this guy will probably eventually kill himself, and that day can't come soon enough. I don't feel sorry for anybody that kills themselves. If you do that, that's, well, first of all, it's a very libertarian decision, but I'm sure there's a good reason why you're killing yourself. And that probably sounds cruel, but, you know, like, if, on the one hand, it could be out of guilt. On the other hand, it could be just because you're like, you know, a lazy piece of shit incel that just like lives in your fucking mom's basement and stares at a computer screen and demands a sex spot from the government because, you know, you don't have any social skills because you've decided to be autistic. People are making these decisions. People are like going out of their way to make themselves autistic. And so like, I just don't feel sorry for people in society that are failures. You know, like if you're a failure and like you've chosen that life, you've chosen to just sit around and feel sorry for yourself. There are plenty of people, you know, like the ones that I'm talking about, like people that are victims of the Child Protective Services or those of us that have knowledge about it, Child Predator Services. Like, I'm lucky that I was never a part of that whole system. I'm really, really lucky. And for so long, you know, I felt like a victim because of my psychological problems and shit. And it's like, Amy, shut the fuck up. Like, you have no idea what it's like to be a victim. Jesus. It's like you weren't raped like 5 times before your 7th birthday. Shut the fuck up. Like, I feel like it's all a cash grab, you know? Literally. Like, they're snatching these kids because those kids put money in their pocket. Donald Trump has actually done something about that. He passed a bill last year that's going to be effective starting this October, where it directly relates to the opioid epidemic, but kids that would have been separated from their parents are not going to be going into foster care. Like, they're trying to find alternatives to that system. So that's the shit. He's the only president that's done anything about that. So that's really cool. And I think that it's just really important to realize that, like, whenever you feel sorry for yourself and you think that, oh, you've got it so bad, just think, like, there are like 463,000 kids in this country that have it a lot worse, okay? So shut the fuck up, stop whining, you're fine. You don't need a pill for anything that you're experiencing, you're fine. Just like, read a book, watch a movie, you know? Go masturbate, talk to yourself. Like, there's so many things that you can do to distract yourself. You don't have to drink and do a bunch of drugs. You don't have to do all that shit. You don't have to play the victim. You don't have to whine. You don't have to, you know, constantly bemoan, you know, that you have psychological problems or whatever the fuck, you know. Now I know what you're thinking. Well, this is contrary to what you were saying before. Like, oh, people that have psychological problems, you know, they're probably, you know, screwed with, you know, when they were a kid. Yes, that's true. That's true. But that doesn't mean, like, use that to continue to hurt yourself right now. Use that to continue to rationalize why you haven't accomplished anything or why you wake up every day dreadful and empty and forlorn, you know? Forlorn. That's such a sweet word. Forlorn. But, you know, I just, I feel like there are way better ways that you can utilize your time than to feel sorry for yourself because of shit that's happened to you. Go see a good therapist. What's a good therapist? That's a good question. I'm so glad you asked, people in the vortex. A good therapist is somebody that works on a sliding scale. They're obviously not in it for the money, okay? If you want to know if somebody's morally corrupt, just follow the money. That's a good indicator right there. But if there's no money to follow, then you're in good shape, Okay, a lot of people, like, they don't understand that. They're like, oh, these people aren't qualified. It's like, who's qualified? What does that even mean, to be qualified to be a therapist? All you do is fucking talk to somebody. All you do is listen. That's it. Anyway, shout out to Mr. Theron. You did a shout out to me. I'm gonna do a shout out to you, baby cakes. You're like the male version of me. Your gayness is like a superpower. I love it. I know that I've bitched about gay people. It's not really gays that I have a problem with. It's like people that use their gayness to like play the victim on a regular basis. But I know that you don't do that because you're not a fibrile. Congratulations. But yeah, I will talk to you guys later. Goodbye.